last session, we went through so much, and I've now broken up the remaining 7 questions that I have into 4 different groupings. We're going to start with creative strategy, process, and performance. The first question is, what's your process from initial ideas to final deliverables?
I work with a pretty small team. We're either trying to solve a problem we're currently having or try something like completely brand new. And I guess like either way, it's like, okay, I'll either find outside inspiration of like, oh man, we got to try this. This is so cool. Or, we're trying to solve a problem of like X isn't working. So let's kind of pivot to something else. And then I'll take whatever like overarching idea like we have or like whatever direction we want to take, whatever angle we want to work. And I'll just kind of like casually, honestly, like run it by our founder because we are a smaller group. And then based on his feedback of like whether or not he wants to move forward with this, I'll go ahead and like work up either like a full brief and script or more of a looser kind of guideline, like kind of Canva doc if we want people making their own concept. And then really from there, it's finding the creators that match the demographic we're going for, getting all the content from them, running it, and then checking on it afterwards to see how it did. I guess it's pretty standard as far as like the general process goes.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that's pretty standard just because that's very similar to how I would approach it. Welcome to UGC Pro, the podcast where creative strategy, UGC innovation, and freelancing success collide. I'm your host, Kelly Rockline, a self-taught creative marketer from the brand and creator side, with over a decade of experience working with hundreds of brands and driving over $500 million in revenue. Now, as a mentor to more than 10,000 aspiring UGC creators and creative strategists, I'm here to help you unlock your full potential. Whether you're here to sharpen your ad game or gain fresh insights to elevate your creative freelance business, you're in the right place. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, or habit stack. Is there a pile of laundry that you need to get through? What about unloading the dishwasher? Maybe it's a good time to go out and get some fresh air. Whether you're cuddled up on the couch or getting your steps in, I am so happy you're here. So without further ado, let's dive in. So when it comes to after launching that round of creative, how do you measure creative success with your client?
I mean, it really kind of depends. Like he is really set on like a specific ROAS and like he wants like if it's not at a 2, it's not what we consider like working. But again, it kind of depends really on like spend and if we're like learning something from it. So like I'm perfectly happy testing something for a shorter period of time that maybe isn't working just so we can kind of like rule that out for a while. Sometimes learning like what doesn't work is just as important as learning what does work. So it's like I'm kind of okay with either. If we're going to really like push spend up higher, like it needs to be at a 2. And that's kind of like what we define as like a successful ad or not.
You made a really good point, which is something that I've like really tried to reaffirm for just as long as I can remember, which is the thing that separates a successful UGC creator or creative strategist from those that like really don't reach that like peak performance are the ones that shy away from the feedback loop of like a bad ad and kind of like take it as like a loss when really it's a redirection and like it offers you the opportunity to pivot your strategy based on that performance. It's so easy to just be like, okay, let's just move on to another idea. But it's like another to be like, well, why didn't this work? Is there a way to reflect on the creative related KPIs and be able to figure out like what story it tells? And if so, what can I do with this information?
Right. And I feel also like it's very rare that you can't pull some positive feedback out of a concept. Like even if like the angle you were testing or the demographic you were testing, even if that didn't work, like you might get like a good hook rate out of it. And it's like, oh, well, maybe we could like take like that little piece of it and pivot it. And so you can always pull like something useful out of there. Even if you just like get good comments on an ad that like give you a different idea or something, like there's always something in there you can find that like is useful.
Okay, so this question goes hand in hand now. How do you balance performance goals with creative experimentation?
It's so tricky because again, like especially if you have a client that like has a lot of spend, like I feel like the stakes can be really high on that. And it's like, how do you like experiment without freaking them out? So from like the actual like ad account level, if you want to experiment on something, just like give it smaller budget. Like if you want to test like out of the box, like if you want to do something that like has never really been in the ad account before, if it's a format that maybe your client's like not super comfortable with or something that like they're a little iffy on, it's like, okay, well, let's just give it like a much smaller percentage of spend, kind of have it isolated over here and like see what it does. does. You don't have to like throw it, because you obviously, for like your bigger campaigns that like winning ads and your high spenders, like you need to be able to hit those KPIs, but like you don't really need to do that if you're just experimenting with something. So I would say just like limit your spend so that you can still get your clients to like be comfortable with testing out something new, because you might find something that has like never worked before, but they are like want to push further on, because if it does actually work, that's great. Then you learn something.
It makes me think of when I was a creative director at 310 Nutrition, and our target demo, it was all Gen X women. And I kept telling the founder, and he was so against this idea. I was like, we need to target Gen Z, and we need to change up how we communicate to them, because they don't want to hear weight loss. They don't want to hear all of the key call outs that our current demographic is essentially eating up. He basically had pushed back on it. In my head, I was like, okay, well, I'll at least craft one ad and see how it does. And it was one that I wrote, assigned to my sister to film and edit. And we ended up launching it July of 2022. That ad not only received millions of dollars in ad spend, but it is so good that it has been cut up into 1,000,001 iterations. And also that script has been repurposed. They hired so many other creators to refilm it. And it's just so funny because it shows that it's like, you know, you want to be calculated with testing something completely new, but it's just like wild to just put all of your eggs in one basket and just think that, well, we'll be fine with just this demographic, because that's just not how it works, right? Like, there'll come a time where Gen Z is in the position of where Gen X is age-wise. Generationally, we speak differently. We have different thoughts. We have different beliefs and values. But there are certain things that are going to turn off a certain audience that another audience might be very interested in hearing and be the reason why they purchase.
Well, and I feel like with something like that, because 310, like that was like, it's like nutrition. It was like a nutrition shake, right? That's something that people need. If they like it, if they're using it, they're going to be purchasing it over and over again. So why would you not want to target a younger demographic and get like a longer like LTV out of them? If they're going to be using it forever, like why would you not want to lock that customer in at like 25 or 30 instead of just like 45 and up? Like get another like 10, 15 years out of that customer. It just makes sense.
Yes, that's such a good point. So moving on, we have 2 questions around work scope and career advice. When you think of your current work right now, what's the ratio of creative strategy work to UGC work that you're doing right now?
Oh my gosh, it's probably 90% creative strategy, 10% UGC. I mean, it kind of like fluctuates, like it depends on the month, and like Q4 can kind of like, I end up doing a little bit more UGC. I'm still doing the same amount of creative strategy no matter what. It's not like I like lower my hours with my client and stuff, because like I still have to like meet everything that like all of his needs, like to make sure that we're like doing everything and keeping up. And those busier times of year, obviously, it's like, if anything, it like also picks up a little bit. Like I have one like retainer UGC client that I am working with, where I do like 2 videos for them per month, which is great. And then just like every once in a while, if somebody like is in my inbox and I'm like, oh, let's do it, you know? So it's really, it's not a ton. You guys know this. I have 2 little kids. It's really hard for me to like pull the time to film stuff regardless. And usually like I try to keep like my weekdays where I'm like able to prioritize like my creative strategy client, because like those are my work days. Kids are out of the house, they're in school, they're at camp, whatever. And so like I'm able to like lock in and get that work done. So I'll try to like, if I am going to pick up a UGC job here or there, it's like, okay, well, that's something that I could like easily do on like a Saturday afternoon with the kids, or like film it real quick in like half a day, you know, where I know I'm not going to like be pushing into those hours that my client needs me for. 90-10 is probably pretty fair, honestly.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too, where when I take on UGC work, it's not like I'm doing less creative strategy, but if anything, and I want to say we talked about this before, where doing creative strategy has given me the opportunity, freedom and flexibility to really choose the jobs I take on versus feeling like I have to take on X amount of opportunities in order to reach a certain income goal for that month or whatever it might be, which is really nice because like I just worked with Javi Coffee, did like 3 script read, no editing. And it was just nice because I was able to negotiate my rate with them to a point where I felt comfortable. You know, I had no worry about, oh, well, you know, they might walk away. In my head, I'm like, well, I don't care because that's not going to change my income for this month. If anything, you know, it would have been like the cherry on top.
Yeah, like this retainer client that I have, they were like, I've been working with them. This was a bit of a slow burn as far as retainers go because I've been working with them on and off for like over a year now. Maybe a year and a half was like the first time I actually worked with them. And it was through, actually got the gig like with a casting agency through Backstage Casting. They found me on there. If you guys don't use Backstage Casting, I think it's super, super valuable because you do have to like pay money for the membership, like to use it, which compared to like other one is like Incense and stuff like that, where they just get like so flooded with new creators. I feel like Backstage casting is for like the pros, which is good. But this is like a $2,700 retainer, and I only do 2 videos for them per month. So again, we talked about like the value, like they get all the rough footage, they get perpetual usage. Both videos this month, they wanted in vertical and horizontal aspect ratios. So technically it's like 4 videos this time around. I don't tell them no, because they're such good clients. And it's like the scripts are super easy. I get to film with my daughter. Like it's really fun. So yeah, I mean, those are the kind of retainer clients that like I can take on, knowing that like, okay, I still have to maintain certain level of work for my like main client. But like that stuff, of course, like I can make the time for, because it's totally worth it.
First of all, that's awesome that you have that retainer. Also, I need to get back on Backstage. I signed up for it 2 different times, but I never actually used it. So obviously, I need to give it another shot, because that's awesome. That's an incredible deal to have.
So story time, this brand that I have the retainer with, the first time I worked with them, it was like through this casting agency. And so they paid like $4,500 for 1 video. Now, I had them live on Zoom with me in my house asking me questions. It's like a fintech thing. Like I had to like really like download the app. I had to be a real user. I couldn't be like a paid actor kind of person, because it was an actual commercial, like it was on TV. Because it was with the casting agency, those are the kind of people that are hiring creators sometimes on Backstage, like real casting agencies. They were paying out like per talent, you guys. So there was another project I did for them for the same client. They paid me $9,000 for 1 UGC video, because it featured me and my daughter. What? Like, it's crazy. So obviously, working with them long term, we are not using those terms anymore. Like, we bypassed the casting agency because they're like, we can't afford this, but we want you. So that's good. Yeah, I mean, it's nuts. Like the kind of things that could happen through Backstage. It's awesome.
Okay, wow. That is insane. And I love the point that you made earlier about how technically one of their requests came out to 4 videos, but you didn't push back, because it's like one of those things where as a service provider, if you have a good thing going with your client, and it's one of those things where you're like, okay, this is the first time I've ever gotten this request. And like, I don't know, maybe if it happens a few extra times and maybe you think like, oh, like I do want to be compensated more for this, then like you could bring it up. At the very least, like you just doing it and doing it for them, you have a really good working relationship with them, and hopefully that only solidified things.
Yeah. Well, and it also allowed me to like reach out to them like 2 days ago and be like, hey, can I actually get these to you on Monday? Like my kids are in camp all week. It's really hard to film with them after they're exhausted. And they were like, oh yeah, no problem. Like take your time. So it's like, it just allows for like give and take, like on both sides of the working relationship, where like if you're flexible, like they're flexible.
Moving forward, we have growth and mindset. So both of these questions are going to explore your personal experience, resilience, and just like joy in the work you do. The first question, what's the hardest challenge that you faced? And can you share a time you thought it was impossible but succeeded?
Honestly, I feel like just getting started was probably the hardest part for me. Okay, I got the client. Oh my God, now what? Because like I was not walking into like a traditional creative strategy role where like, you know, you sign on with an agency and they have these like really clear like work relationships of like, here's the person that's going to oversee everything. Here's what your day-to-day roles are going to be. Like, here's like, you know, your like SOPs, like, you know, there's a learning curve when you change careers essentially and like pivot to something like this. But, you know, usually if you're coming into that kind of environment, there are people there and there are things there in place to kind of help what you're doing each day until you like get comfortable doing it. Now, the client that I have had never had a creative strategist work with him before. He'd worked with some agencies like short term, but just like nothing ever really worked out with that. So it wasn't like he had like a long-term working relationship with any of them. So coming into it, and I was just like, okay, oh my God, I got the job. What do I do? So I really had to like manually like figure out like how many ads do we need? What kind of KPIs like do we need to hit? Like I had to ask all those questions. Like nothing was like spoon-fed. It's not like I showed up and like immediately knew like what questions to ask. Like I just had to figure it out as I went and like be open about like, hey, I've got a question about this. What do you mean from me today? Is there anything specific like that you want to focus on for like this particular brand? Like, you know, and I wasn't afraid to ask those questions because like he was really easy to work with up until that point. So he wasn't like an intimidating client in that way. But I would say that was probably like the biggest challenge for me was just figuring out exactly like what my role should be without anyone really telling me what to do.
Yeah, that is a good point, because when you don't have a clear onboarding structure, it like gives this level of freedom that is both freeing and also scary at the same same time because you're kind of like, all right, this is all on me. Ultimately, you did all the right things because you were asking questions to help speed up your learning curve. And it's interesting because you mentioned how, I wasn't spoon fed all this information. And I feel like in order to be a successful creative strategist, you have to have the right questions in mind because oftentimes the person that you're talking to doesn't even know what key details you need. And the way that I describe it to my new clients is my first few weeks, depending on, how many hours a week I'm working with them, I'm asking questions. I'm kind of like a fly on the wall and I'm trying to collect puzzle pieces that will end up creating what I'm considering like my roadmap to follow or like my map just to take me through the job that I'm doing for this client. And it isn't without those puzzle pieces that like you really have to kind of work for to find, to ask those questions to, if you hear someone say something in passing and you're like, wait a second, I need to like learn more about whatever you just mentioned because I feel like that could be a puzzle piece that I'm missing that'll help me do a better job or speed up my learning curve or whatever it might be.
If I didn't have access to this ad account, like I really don't know where I would be in this role right now because it's also like, hey, Sam, it's Monday. Let me go like kind of break down how things performed last week. Like I'm not getting that. Like I have to go in and like manually look at everything. So like I have to be pretty self-sufficient as far as like keeping track of things, which, it's a little bit intimidating.
And you said Magic Brief for performance feedback.
We do use Magic Brief, yeah. But that also is something that like I set up. Like it's my Magic Brief account that we're using. I gave all of them access.
So follow-up question to that is, what's your favorite project you've worked on and or your favorite aspect of being a strategist and why?
Honestly, just like it's a cheesy answer to say like all of it. I love the process of like seeing if things are working or not. It's like I really loved, honestly, I like was very inspired by what Evan had said at Creator Confidential, where he was talking about like, writing out a brief and actually having like a written, like clear hypothesis. I love that. So I've been like kind of going in that direction a little bit now too. I'm like, okay, like what, like I want to be very clear on like what specifically are we trying to like test with this so that we can get a clearer, like, did it work? Yes or no? But just like being able to see if things are actually working or not. I was like, hey, can I try filming something for this one product? I want to do like a more, ugly ad style kind of off the cuff sort of thing, like less polished. And so, I filmed it in a day and submitted it over to him. It's like as a whitelisting ad through my account, it has like the highest ROAS of like the entire account. So like we're going in that direction more now with like one of the other products to see if we can kind of like copy some of that. I don't know, really just being able to like test stuff. You've got ideas in your brain and then suddenly someone else is like performing them in front of the camera. Like that is so cool.
That's so true. And then I like how you mentioned how you kind of were the guinea pig for one of the videos where you're just like, let me just bring this ad to life and see how it does. And the best feeling ever is when that ad becomes a top performer. And it's so funny because I literally did that for one of my clients last week where I was just kind of like, you know what? I really want to test something completely different. I don't feel like investing too much time and energy and money into it just because I don't know how the founders are going to feel. So I'm just going to film it and edit it and send it over to Lamise and have her launch it and see how it does. Turns out it's now like the top performing ad for acquisition. And it was funny because the founders, they don't like it when the rings are blurry. It's not clearly showing the shimmer of the ring, but I wanted it to feel like a normal person filmed it and that it wasn't produced by the brand. So Lamise basically had told them, hey, I know you said you didn't like this, but it's now our top performing ad for acquisition. So we might want to change our feelings on it.
Yeah. That goes back to the whole like UGC is not supposed to look like it's coming from the brand. People want to hear what other people have to say, not just from the brand. Another one of those benefits of like reasons why you should hire a UGC creator to be your creative strategist. Because it's like you can literally just go shut your computer down, film a concept that like, especially if it's something like kind of weird that you like literally would take longer to try to like brief it and give it to someone and maybe get what you're looking for, or you could just do it yourself in an hour, just film it and then suddenly there's your top performer. There you go.
Yes, you make such a good point too. I was talking to a student on a coaching call this week. You should mention that you have a background in UGC. in direct response video editing, outside of just creative strategy, because even though that's not going to be the majority of the work you're doing, I have seen firsthand experience over the course of my career, whether it's full-time or with my creative strategy clients, that they often opt to work with me over someone who is considered a one-trick pony because of the added value that we bring to the table when you're able to come up with a concept idea, film it and edit it and put it out within a matter of hours. That's like one thing that also I've witnessed, even like when Shane was at his last agency, he was there for 4+ years. He survived half a dozen rounds of layoffs. He's leaving on his own accord now for a new opportunity. When he was there, it was explicitly communicated to him that the reason why they needed him is because of everything he's capable of doing. Because even though he was head of post-production, he also can do UGC. He also has a network of UGC creators. He also operates as a creative strategist. He's also a designer. He can do 1,000,001 things. And like ultimately, when it comes down to it, whether it's, a freelance client or full-time, the more value you can bring to the table, the more of a justification it is to keep you and choose you over someone else who is that one-trick pony.
Absolutely. Because you need 5 or 6 different people to fill all the roles that Shane can do. Just keep Shane. That's a no-brainer.
Absolutely. The future of creative strategy. How do you see creative strategy evolving with AI and automation?
I mean, I know we're all using it every day. So I am spending more and more time on LinkedIn and stuff than I am on Instagram at this point. I just feel like from a strategy side of things, you want to learn from really good marketers and not just creators. Get on LinkedIn and really see what other people are talking about. I really love what Alex Cooper of AdCrate always says, that creative strategists aren't going to be replaced by AI. They're going to be replaced by creative strategists who know how to use AI better than you. It's not going to take our jobs. It's not going to take over the world. You have to be able to use AI tool well to stay relevant, I think, in the industry. So really it's about the more that AI can handle not to say easier stuff, but the more time consuming things that frees up time for us to do more of the higher level stuff. Also get really good at prompting. It's all about how you can prompt AI and use Prompt Cowboy if you're not super comfortable talking to it, because Prompt Cowboy is the best cheat code and it's totally free to use. You type in whatever you want to ask chat and it takes it and it turns it into a really thoughtfully structured prompt. It makes it 4 times longer. It does a really, really good job because it knows how to talk to the other robot, So using stuff like that, I think, is super important. I am not really sold on AI in ads. Use the AI on the back end so that you can have people in your creative. People want to see other people. I think it's very rare. Obviously, there's certain circumstances where it's okay, where really cool AI visuals can work if you're trying to get a very specific point across. I think it's much more relevant for static ads to be able to use AI and stuff. The whole I don't need to hire UGC creators because I've got AI avatars. I just don't think it's going to stick around. The old Star Wars movies with Natalie Portman, the first one they did, and they were CGI is the best. It's brand new. We're going to use it for everything. And you go back and watch it now and you're oh, they totally overdid this. This was such overkill. Feel that's what we're going to look back in 10 years and be so cringy. None of those AI ads looked good. It didn't work. That's my personal take on it. I'd love to know what you have to say, Kelly.
Oh, for sure. I feel emotional based ads need actual people now more than ever. We want and crave connection. Literally at the VIP dinner when Tamara, the CEO of Phoenix Cosmetics, was talking, we're so connected digitally, but also still so alone and in our own worlds. Building an actual connection with the viewer is more necessary than ever. And also in a way that just doesn't feel staged. I've also seen in the Motion, their annual review based on however many billions of dollars of ad spend. People are also trying to kind of escape the world at times. And so it's just one of those things where an AI UGC creator is not going to be able to do that. So funny because I'm pretty sure I remember seeing one of Alex's posts and I was oh my God, I've been saying that too. And it's the AI is not going to replace you, but the people that are going to replace you are the strategists that are leveraging the tools to make them more effective and efficient. And it just makes so much sense. I think of it from pre-dot-com boom. And imagine when email starts to become a thing and you're working at an office and they're okay, here's your email. And you're no, I don't use email. Okay, well then you can't have a job because I can't talk to you. Like, what am I going to do? Like, send letters to you in the mail? Like, it doesn't work that way. Shane and I had done a podcast episode on tools versus toys. As long as you're focused on the tools that are actually helping you perform better and add more value to your clients and aren't getting like sucked into like the toys of AI, is this really going to help your workflow? No, this is just kind of like a shiny object. What is actually going to make you more efficient? What is actually going to make you more effective? Those are the things you need to double down on.
I feel like it's all about how can this save me time? That's really all it is. Like, how can this save me time? A lot of people on LinkedIn are like, it's starting to feel like really scammy of like cracked the code on how to prompt, Chat's image gen to make like all of these ads, and it took me 5 minutes. It's like I have literally played around with the image gen of like, let me see if I can make a static ad with this. And I like did everything you're supposed to do. I did the prompt cowboy prompt. I did everything here. I gave it like example images. It's spelled definitely, the word definitely with 2 I's right next to each other. Like it spelled it wrong. And I was just like, but I went back and I looked at my prompt and I was like, did I hallucinate? I'm like, did I spell it wrong? There's no way it would have just gotten this wrong. No, it did. It just messed it up. And I'm like, okay, forget it. Like it literally, it's not worth the time of trying to like mess around with that. I mean, how much time is it going to take you to generate an image with AI versus, okay, you're paying your creative strategist however many hundreds of dollars per hour. Then it takes them 3 hours to generate an image. Like, congratulations, you just bypassed a graphic designer, but did it actually save you any money? You probably would have gotten a better image cheaper from an actual graphic designer. That's not going to help. But being able to do like the research, okay, let's do some brand market analysis, come up with some different audience segments, take a look at like this ad, tell me what I could do better, like some of the stuff that like Motion can do, like all of those AI agents, like that kind of stuff is super valuable. And it also takes like no time at all to do. So really that's like where I'm at, is like how much time.
Okay, so I made a few notes. One, you mentioned about how like it saves you time. I have really loved getting to use ChatGPT, especially for that reason. Even time aside, the emotional and just like physical toll that too much thinking can lead to. I have ADHD. I only have so much that I can do in one day. It's conserving a lot of the energy I would have normally exerted, but because I'm partnering with ChatGPT, it's given me like a longer runway. I'm trying to think of a metaphor. Like you have, say, like a bag of marbles, and neurotypical people, they have a bag of marbles and they're going through their day and they can like carry it and it's fine. But the bag of marbles that I have and anyone with ADHD has, it has holes in it. So like you're dropping marbles and you're trying not to drop them, but you are, because it has a hole. You're trying to get shit done while also making sure that the marbles aren't dropping. And it's just like one of those things where just, partnering with AI tools has, I feel like, really helped me make a larger impact with the work I'm doing while still conserving my mental and emotional energy and ending my day feeling more accomplished versus, feeling like I could have or wish I had done more kind of thing.
You don't have to start from scratch anymore. I mean, like Chat does everything first for me. Whatever I have to, it's like, okay, I have to write a script. Hey, Chat, we're doing a risk aversion concept. Write a script for me. I want you to focus on people like 45 plus. This is literally what I was doing 5 minutes before we got on this call. I asked Chat to do this. Okay, now I have a starting point. Am I going to just like copy and paste that script? No. You guys know that's not going to be good enough. But at least I have something to look at to go, okay, now I have a clearer picture of what I actually want to do. Let's change that. Let's add things in here. Like, you don't have to start with like a blank sheet of paper anymore. It saves so much time. It really takes a little while to like get those ideas out and to make sure that you like have all of your bases covered as far as like, who are you targeting? What kind of video length do you want this to be? What do you want to be talking about? Like all of this stuff that has to like go into this job. If you're able to get like half of that done sort of okay, and then you just have to fix it, it's going to save you so much time.
Yes, it gives you so much more momentum, which I also think has really helped me as well as someone that struggles on and off with like executive dysfunction. It really just helps me overcome it by even just sending Chat like voice memos, helping me get started. And it's like, hey, I want to do this. I'm having a hard time getting started. Could you please follow up with questions? And also, can you suggest a way for me to move forward? And like, once I get that momentum, then I can take it and I can keep moving moving, which I personally love. Another thing you mentioned was like bringing up the toys and like say the LinkedIn posts where they're like, oh, I was able to do this static with these steps. I mastered my prompt. For one of my clients, he was the CEO of the company and he was following Alex Hormozy. And he saw this video of Alex Hormozy being like, this looks like me, but it's not me. It's my AI avatar. And he was just like, we gotta do this. Alex Hormozy's posting about it. We gotta do it. And I had to tell him, I go, this is clickbait. This is going viral because people like you are getting excited about it. He's posting about it for his own personal reasons, which is for virality. I want to see actual ads of him. Is he actually doing that? Or is he literally just posting it to create this like wildfire of people just commenting, engaging, comment, blah, blah, blah for my prompt or whatever, like you said.
Who did he want an AI avatar of?
He wanted to do one of himself, of his wife, of me. Like he was just like so excited because we were the on-camera talent and he was just like, we got to do it. And I'm just like, but why? Because you have me, you have you have your wife.
I just feel like making an AI version of your founder takes away all of the authenticity of hearing from your founder. That's the whole point. I don't know if it actually shared properly to my stories or not because it just kept telling me it was loading. So I have to go back and check. But there was this ad for Breeze. They had the coolest ad the other day that I saw. And it was the two founders and it was them calling the woman who was their like top buyer and they like called her. It was just like camera like straight to them. You could see the computer in the corner. They had like their phone on the counter. They called this woman and they were just like thanking her. They like wanted to hear her story. This was like a 2.5 minute long ad. And I watched the whole thing with this like dumb smile on my face. It was a very like natural conversation. Like it was definitely not scripted at all. And it was so much fun to just like see that. And that from like a founder's perspective is like, that's what you want. Like you want like the authentic, super enthusiastic founder. The whole point of the founders ad. I just thought that format was so cool. I loved it so much.
Stuff like that is exactly what I was alluding to when it's talking about connection. Founder ads do so freaking well. So it's like, yeah, why would we take the humanity and connection out of it and just have this AI person? And again, like I had to reset the expectations with him where I'm like, hey, do you notice how Alex Hormozy posted this on Instagram and that he has a call to action to comment like whatever keyword? It's engagement bait. He's posting it for his own personal gain, which is smart. Well, this information is not actually valuable for us. Keep in mind, it was for a company that it's a digital product that had to do with financial growth. And I had said, I was like, it's going to sound really freaking scammy if we have AI people speaking on behalf of a product that already is under like major scrutiny from like the FTC.
The FTC thing also, like, I actually wanted to bring this up when you were talking about like tools versus toys. As far as like where UGC and ads are going, like with the use of AI, just like industry wide, I cannot imagine it being much longer before people have to literally disclose like this is an AI avatar. Like, I mean, I know people are doing it and just hoping they don't get caught, but like you have an AI avatar talking about like weight loss, like they can't actually claim to have used it. They have to be very specific with their wording of like, this can help you lose 10 pounds. They can't say this helped me lose 10 pounds because they're not freaking real. They're a fake person. And I also think that like people are super, super smart now. Like I was talking to my husband about this the other day and he was like, the minute I see that it's AI, I'm not going to buy it. Like he's not a marketer. He's just a regular guy. He's just like, I don't trust it. I feel like it's worse than the brand just being branded. Hey, we're this brand, like buy our stuff, please. Or you have a UGC creator, like a person, you know, hey, I loved this. This is great. But like, I feel like the AI kind of falls flat in both categories. Like it's not going to work for either.
Yes. And so you made a really good point, and I talked about this during my session with Motion, and I only know about it because Shane told me. There's something called the Content Authenticity Initiative, and it's being backed by really big brands right now. So they are actually working on creating what is a safe world with AI. It is quite fascinating. So restoring trust and transparency in the age of AI. If you just look up Content Authenticity Initiative, if it's created and then it goes into generative AI and then it's published, you will be able to tell that it was. And like big brand names are backing it because they understand this is something that's going to become an issue. And it's coming down now to like, say, like the social platforms. Well, the government is going to have to hold them accountable to make sure that it's actually publicly shown. But you have nonprofits like the Content Authenticity Initiative that are already working on this and backed by, again, like IBM, Adobe, all these really big name companies. But this at least gives me hope in the sense of, okay, this is a concern and I just don't want it to get worse.
People are like legitimately scared. It's valid. And the fact that like you have to disclose things, obviously to a certain extent. Recently, there was like, I think it was Vogue had like an AI model in it in one of the ads, and like the page, and it was like at the bottom of the page, and like people are pissed about it. Just because we can do things does not mean we should be doing those things. We don't have to use AI for everything.
You had mentioned about how at first glance, someone might be excited because they're like, oh my God, this is going to save us so much money because we don't have to hire a designer. We can just prompt our way to designs that are going to become high converting statics. The example that I love to give, and this is something that I've been dealing with for years now. I work with a brand and their video editors are all overseas. And they're like, it's great. They're only like $5 an hour. It saves us so much money. And I have to reset expectations with them because I say, hey, just so you know, they're $5 an hour, but you hired me at 125, 150. If it takes me 3 hours to hold their hand through an edit, it wasn't $15. It was $300 plus, when if we had hired the right video editor, we could have had it done same day at a fraction of the price.
Absolutely. Cutting the corners, like you end up it doesn't actually help you.
My next question is, when you think about everything you've been able to accomplish up until this point, what is your next big goal that you personally have as a creative strategist?
So I've been working with this client for my entire creative strategy career. Like it's going on like 2 years now that we've been working together. My goal is to like take on another client. First of all, obviously, you literally talked about this the other day in your stories or something, like diversifying is huge. Like we were just talking about how like 90% of my income and what I'm doing is like through creative strategy. Yes, it's 3 brands. It's one guy. There's one guy that I work for. If something happens tomorrow and his brand tank or he gets hit by a bus, like my job is gone, that's my next step. And also just because like, since I have been working with the same person for so long, I want to make sure that like I am comfortable switching gears and taking on a role with another team, whether that be like single brand, agency, whatever. I just want to make sure I'm like flexing that muscle and like learning new things from like working with a different group.
That makes sense. And then you had also mentioned, is it that your kids are now old enough that they're going to be at school during the day? So now you're also going to have some more time?
Yes. So up until this point, obviously like this summer was very different for us because both of our kids did camp. This is like week 5 of camp. They love it. It's awesome. My daughter's doing it next week too. My son's over it. So he's going to be home with me next week. Up until summer, like all through last year and like the year prior where I was doing this, UGC and everything, like they were little. My daughter was in school all day trying to work even just like the 20 to 25 hours per week that I was doing with my client when my son was only in preschool for 2 hours a day. You guys, I have been working from like indoor play gyms, my mom's living room, the children's section of the library. Like you've seen me on calls in the library before. Kids are like running around behind me. My work-life balance is going to be very different come a couple weeks from now when they're both in school because my youngest is starting kindergarten. I have the bandwidth to take on more work and I don't want to just pile on hours with my current client because I feel like I can learn so much more by splitting that up. So that's my goal.
If you've been able to accomplish all of this with the little time that you've had, imagine what you're going to be able to accomplish moving forward.
It's crazy. I will say though that like moms work more efficiently than like anyone else because we don't have any other option. You've got 2 hours to do something. Oh my God, are you going to get it done? Like you're going to get 4 hours worth of work done in 2 hours somehow. I don't even know. Especially when your kids are little. If you're trying to like do something and they're there, it's like, yeah, you can work on stuff. But like if you have help or suddenly they're like at daycare or they're at preschool or they're at your mom's house and you suddenly have your whole brain able to focus on one task, it feels like a freaking superpower because you've been paying half attention to where is that kid? What did he just put in his mouth? Is he about to jump off the balcony? Like half of your brain is occupied like all day long. So being able to focus on one task, it sort of feels like being on drugs. It's crazy.
That is such a good point. I know for a fact, I don't like have any like studies handy, but I know I have seen them where they're basically like the stigma for working moms is, oh, well, she's probably too busy, blah, 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 blah. When ironically, it's like, watch and see how much they can get accomplished. We'll open up the floor if anyone has any follow-up questions about anything we've discussed thus far.
I really love this conversation. Sam, you mentioned that you are interested in like taking on more clients. And I was just wondering, is there anything about like your ideal clients that really sticks out to you, or like something that about potential clients that you're like, yes, I will work with this person. No, I won't work with this type of person, or category or bucket of people that you really want to work with?
For me, it doesn't matter specifically like if it's an individual brand or an agency. I don't want to work with e-com bros. That's a big no for me. Obviously, I don't mean like men in general, but just like, you know, the type. There is this specific category of men that are more like boys, and I don't want to work with boys. Like, I probably have like 10 to 20 hours available at this point. So I just want to make sure that whoever I work with understands that like that's my bandwidth right now. Like, that's what I can do. Scope creep gets like real crazy sometimes in this world of like, oh, hey, can you also do this? Oh, but can you also do this? And it's like, I can, but other things might not happen then that you actually need me to be doing, like the things you're really paying me to do. So I think as long as like the expectation of what needs to be accomplished by me on like a day-to-day or like weekly basis, as long as that's clear, I'm good. It is easier sometimes if you're in the target demo because it just makes it a little bit simpler as far as like coming up with stuff. But like the brands that I've been working with right now are like, I'm not always their target demographic, which actually has been like a really good exercise in like how to figure that out when it's not, oh my God, you know, like impulse buy, lower price point kind of stuff, apparel or, you know, makeup, skin, like, you know, some of that stuff that's just like really easy to sell kind of. But yeah, I don't really have like a specific like dream client, I guess.
So one question that Julie had was, I want to know how Sam came up with her starting rate for creative strategy.
Oh my God, I was so nervous. It was a rate that I think, Kelly, you had talked about hitting at some point. I charged my client like $100 an hour. I haven't changed that since I started working with him because I'm very happy with it. And I also haven't necessarily changed like my scope of work with him. So I didn't want to like suddenly ask for more money and then continue doing the same thing. He's kind of like the best case scenario for this, which I know is not usually what happens. I guess I would say I was like probably aiming for more like 75 an hour. And I was like, let me start with 100 and see what he says. And then I remember sending the message, like they sent the email and then was just sweating for like the next, and he's international. So it was like, cool, I'll hear back in 12 hours, you know? So I was like, oh, my rate would be $100 an hour, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of sandwiched it between like value. Here are all the things that I could help you with, and I'd like to charge you this much money. And then blah, blah, blah. So, you know, it wasn't just like, here's my rate. He was like, okay, great. He just said yes, you guys, which I know is like, that's probably not even super helpful for you guys to hear because that's not normal. I was expecting a negotiation and it said I just got what I asked for, which is very rare and I'm very lucky. He also had not pushed back on any of my, like there had been no previous negotiation on rates. Like he gave me like a brief and I gave him a quote and he was like, okay. And then we did another project and I was like, okay, well, this involves my kids, so I would charge this. Okay. I still, for like a longer term collaboration kind of thing, like obviously working together in more of this capacity, I was expecting him to like want to negotiate, but no, he did not.
Yeah, that really is a unicorn client.
I have two questions. One is like kind of on the same line of like rates. And then the second question is more heavy and nuanced. So I'll leave that towards the end. The first question is essentially like, I'm in a weird position where I kind of feel like my current full-time job, I like it. It's just not creative enough for me. And I think part of that is because I'm doing more than just like creative strategy, which is what I'm supposed to be doing. I essentially like own this department. So I'm not just doing strategy. I'm doing like creator management and editor management. And like, I feel like my role is not strategist anymore. Like it's much more than that. I guess I kind of want to know what I can do to communicate that and hopefully have some leverage for a raise or a change in title or like something along those lines. And then how I can transfer that to communicate my skills in the future when I'm like not doing the 9 to 5 thing anymore.
I think it's a really good opportunity to try to, I mean, especially if you don't plan on sticking around forever, which I mean, I know people job jump a lot in this industry, like push for the title that you want. If that includes a raise, awesome. Also just like the proof of like, oh yeah, I did this. Really, if it's something that you like want to continue doing. You mentioned like you're not loving it because it's not as creative. So if you were to like switch titles and then use that moving forward to job jump, is that something that you would still want to be doing? I guess I want to get a little bit more context on like what you would want to do if you left.
I've been wondering if creative strategy is something that like I even want to do full time because like I said, I'm very creative first. I feel like a lot of people that are like very high up in the industry, they're they were marketers first. So it's easy to like talk about creative strategy in that light. But the more I do it, the less creative it feels to me. Like it feels very like analytical and very performance driven, which is kind of not what feeds my soul. And that's just me. But I feel like if I were to leave, I wouldn't be trying to find another full-time job. I probably would go back to being self-employed. And I know that has its trade-offs, but that's just me, I guess.
I mean, Kelly, what do you think?
I know that this has kind of been an ongoing like discussion that we've had kind of on and off. Right now, when you think of your current setup at the company, do you have like a quarterly review or biannual review?
It's so much more lax than that because it's a 3-year-old company. There are no formal processes currently. They have expressed that they're trying to figure that out, trying to figure out like what it looks like for a year to come around and like who gets raises, like stuff like that. They don't have those systems in place.
What I will say is it seems like there's 2 big routes you could take. So one, scheduling time for like a more formal review with the founders or whoever your point of contact would be, reviewing what you've done, where you started at, where you're at now, you know, your role and responsibilities, everything you're working on, followed by the suggested title change and possibly salary increase, or looking for a new job or clients for consulting or like fractional work while you have a job. I think one thing that I wish I didn't take for granted when I was at Mute 6, it was like the agency. I wish that I didn't leave when I did, and I wish I had started there sooner. Mute 6 for me was my connections. Like everyone now is an agency owner. They're working for big name companies. They're all killing it. And even though you're currently in a position that maybe isn't fully fulfilling you, there could be a trade-off where if you stuck with it for maybe another 6 months or 12 months, you could get even more out of it. It also might be really hard to get them to give you a title change and get you to give you a salary increase. So you are more likely to get a wild raise by simply jumping ship. Say hypothetically you leave this agency, they will likely hire your replacement, paying them more. And it just doesn't make sense, but that's just the way that the system works.
I think my thing with that is that I really like the company and the people. I also have like a certain naivety. I don't have like experiences being full-time with other companies. I just have a feeling like in this space, if I were to go to another company, I'm not going to feel the same way about the team and the people. And like, I don't think people will be as receptive to me and like the changes and the systems that I want to build as this company is. I feel like I'm building with them and I can do things my way with very little check-in, and I can just like, I'm not micromanaged or like anything like that.
Maybe you're able to get a title change and a salary increase. Maybe they're a little hesitant about the salary increase. Something that you could also offer to them is they're eventually wanting to sell their agency. If you were to also negotiate maybe even getting equity, that could be an opportunity for a future payout. Instead of asking for a raise, just take on a side client.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I think I'm probably leaning in that direction of like trying to build things more seriously outside of my full-time role. So that's pretty aligned.
And then it also kind of goes back to the conversation that Sam brought up about, then it diversifies your income and protects you financially.
So the whole conversation about AI, I feel like a lot of the AI conversation has to do with ethics surrounding like AI avatars, which is like totally, I feel like pretty much everyone in this call is kind of on the same page about that. But another thing that I feel like not a lot of people touch on, and maybe it's because a lack of awareness or clarity around it, is kind of like the energy consumption and like the icky feeling how it environmentally is impacting things. The more data comes out about it, the more I'm like, this makes me want to use it less. At the very least, try to use it more efficiently. And I'm like wondering if anybody else has been having that feeling, because there's obviously like very extreme people on the internet as well that are like, you're an evil person if you use ChatGPT. I don't expect people on that side of the spectrum to understand. I also am not super pro AI in the sense of like, yeah, innovate, use it for everything, integrate it into everything, because there are just like real life consequences to that, especially if we're innovating in ways that are unnecessary, like you guys were kind of alluding to earlier. But I just wanted to like open that up and like ask if that has been on anybody's radar or if anybody has feelings about that.
I definitely have thought about this. I'm familiar with it in the sense of before AI, I was also familiar with the energy used for Bitcoin mining and how that alone was very overwhelming for me just because I was heavily invested at one point. Even just knowing the energy there is pretty crazy. But from what I know, it kind of makes me think about corporations putting the responsibility on individual people. It sucks that that's that's like the situation we're in. The times that I start getting really caught up in just anything having to do with climate change and environmentalism, selfishly, to bring myself back down to earth, I'm like, okay, I'm only one person. If corporations were just held actually accountable, then I don't think we would even be concerned in the sense of how much even worse it's making it for us. But like, at least the way that I've thought about it is I'm like, one, I never want to become reliant on AI. I want to be thinking for myself. And then two, I want to use it strategically and not have it either make me stupider over time or just like overcomplicate the process. But like, this is the shit that would keep me up at night before. There's no solution there. And I don't even know like if I properly answered it, but it's just something that I've thought about and it's been on my mind. But I'm also just like, I don't know, how do I operate in late stage capitalism?
You're not an environmental scientist, so I don't expect a solution from you. I just wanted to like hear thoughts and like, I don't know, touch grass a little bit because it's something that I like have crashed out about. And I do have to like bring myself down to earth and just try to like think of like more effective ways to place that energy instead of like staying up for hours trying to figure out like how to reduce my single impact. Like there are things that we could all collectively do, and it doesn't have to mean you have to completely eliminate the use of it either. I think simply advocating in legislation, like there have been crazy legislation involving AI from the corporations that are benefiting most.
I forget what video it was. I might have shared it on my LinkedIn. Anything that's deregulated that benefits corporations trickles down and ends up harming individuals. Like, what are the real implications that could affect people that have jobs that could actually be replaced by AI, things of that nature.
And also, like a lot of the places that it's impacting, sometimes it doesn't start in the United States or in the Western world at all. It typically starts in like the global South. And then if we're seeing it at all where we live, it's in like these already like underprivileged communities that have to deal with like living in places where you're going to see like the sewage situation. You're going to see like what happens when water is not used properly.
And this just made me think about it. I want to say the term was environmental racism. It's like it ends up affecting like the people who are already struggling. I really appreciate you bringing that up. The whole conversation leading up until this point made it sound like rainbows and butterflies when there are definitely downfalls to AI, that being one of them.
Yeah, but I think also like to make it more full circle and then close it out is the way that you guys discussed what makes your job more efficient and what saves you time. And let's not like try to use this for everything.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the UGC Pro podcast. I hope today's episode gave you inspiration and practical steps to apply to your business. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to hit follow, leave a review, and share it with another creator or marketer. And make sure to catch our next episode. Now, I don't want to give too much away, but let's just say you will not want to miss out. Until then, remember that success is a strategy and you are your most valuable client. So treat yourself like it. And lastly, if you aren't already connected with us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, X, look up UGC Pro and be sure to follow along. And as always, I wish you the best of luck on your UGC and creative strategy journey.